I'm Brent Leary.
And in the interest of staying a co-equal partner, I'm Paul Greenberg.
A
Same
co-equal
tone.
partner.
Well, the reason I say that is I'm trying to imitate the same tone and same way you expressed it.
Okay. Is this?
So if you went like, I'm Brent Leary, I would have gone, I'm Paul Greenberg.
Yeah, well, we
But I
won't have
know.
to worry about that ever
No, I'm
happening.
pretty
So
sure of
we're good
that.
to go there. But
That's
we are
right.
look, even LinkedIn says happening now. CRM Playaz.
Wow.
Okay, there it is. All right. Well, hey, if LinkedIn is saying it, then we are the CRM Playaz. Hey, it's Thursday. Look, it's just like a picture perfect Thursday afternoon here in Atlanta. The temperatures are like low 80s. I was able to get my brisk walk in without like killing myself with heart stroke or something. It was great.
Wow. Low 80s. We're at 90.
Well, let me look. I haven't looked in a while. No, all right, we're 86. So it's actually warmer up there than it is down here. That's kind of nuts, but I'll take it.
I'm there, man. I'm on my way. I'll get 4 degrees better off.
Well, you know who else is on their way in there?
Sahil, how you doing,
Sahil
man?
is here. It's good to
Straight
see
from
him.
India.
Good to see him. But you know what? This is like the third or fourth week in a row where the moment is Finn did not begin the show.
Well,
saw what I did there, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, what's going on?
I don't know. I'm wondering if maybe he's getting bored with the players.
Or he's run out of languages to try to stomp him.
He's literally covered every dialect and language on the earth by this time.
But anyway, we are the CRM Playaz, and as we found out back in June, we have been bringing the as, that's with the Z, since 2009.
And you know what? Other than saying it right this second, I'll never do this again. I am not going to be talking about as in Arizona anymore.
Well, we'll see about that.
Yeah. I'm done. Done with it. Finito.
Okay. I don't know. We'll see.
Finito.
Things happen.
Finito. What language is that?
Finito?
Yeah.
Some kind of Spanish?
Probably. I just.
All right. Well, we have a lot to go through today, but before we do, you know what? We got a lot going on next week. Check out this schedule. Just going to run through a little bit. Look at this whispered insight. Hey, the show is really it's moving on up. It's like the Jeffersons or something.
You're looking at two white boys there.
I was going to say, who's Weezy and who's George?
Yeah.
Don't ask me that one.
Somebody with last name of Berkson and Kolsky are really not going to fly on the Jeffersons too much.
Well, I could at least say Jorge instead of George. And that could be
right.
Esteban.
There we go. Jorge.
But Whispered Insights is coming in there. It's picking up speed, and this Esteban and all his merry co-hosts are really doing some fun stuff.
I know, and this is their 5th episode already. They're rolling through. They keep it up, they'll catch up to us. Nah, they won't. We're the only other weekly show on here, so they'll never catch up to us.
Probably got a ways to go for that. But let's check out just a clip from the last one, because it was Esteban, it was Liz Miller, and they were talking about Esteban's favorite thing to talk about of all time, charlatans.
For decision making, or do we need a way to drive the charlatans out of the equation?
I think that we probably need a little of both. Within organizations, we need to empower a different person. We need to invoke the Esteban Act within our teams. I think that a lot of times within organizations, when a charlatan starts speaking, the person who's the first to stand up and be like, I actually don't agree with that. Wait a minute. I think that's wrong. That person makes everyone uncomfortable. But that person is what's going to not only take whatever the charlatan said and either extract some the truth from it and make that the usable piece of information that we carry on, or they're going to drum the charlatan out. Because everyone's going to go, I actually agree with that person. Now that I've stopped being uncomfortable, right? I actually agree with that person.
Now, Liz had a little bit more to say than I thought.
Yeah.
She really hates those charlatans.
I don't blame him. I mean, who the hell wants to listen to these jerks? You know, I mean, it's like the sad part is everyone in the room knows that they're jerks, except a few who are, well, let's say this. There are, except for the sycophants. But
well, there are a lot. That's
Yeah.
there are a lot of sycophants. That's quite the exception there.
Well, I guess you're right. I mean, unfortunately, I'll change that to half the people in the room know they're jerk.
So you would vote for the Esteban Kolsky Charlatan Act of 2023?
In fact, not only that, I am one of the things today. I'm announcing I'm running for office on that act. That's my cornerstone.
You know what? I came up with a new nickname in the midst of that discussion that he was having with Liz. I call him now Charlabon.
I better think about that one.
I could call him Charlemagne, but
Well, you could no, but if you call him Charlabon, you could be you might get mistaken for a cinnamon roll.
Yeah, Esteban mistaken for a cinnamon roll. That would be
Cinnabon.
That would be quite the thing. All right, so next week they're back. Whispered Insights. Alan Burtson. He's probably on the network as much as we are at this point. But
yeah, well, he's got his own show too with Jeff Gomez, I think. Still,
yeah, but that's not on.
That's okay. I mean, just on the air, over the air.
Yeah,
I'm saying
I'm talking about particularly on PPN. Alan is like the third person. He's like the third man, like Orson Welles.
He is a play in residence. That is.
Yeah,
he is designated.
He's
a designated driver here.
He's a designated player. Is that what
well, he drives content. A designated driver.
Ooh, right. All right. So continuing on with the schedule for next week. Woo. So in a few good minutes next week, and we're kind of ramping up because Dreamforce is about to hit us, and so we're going to be out there. We got some things we're currently working on to figure out what we're going to actually be doing out there. But in the meantime, next week, Chris Billmeyer, he is someone that I don't think we've ever had on any of the network shows.
No.
So he is the SVP and GM of Salesforce Self-Services and Growth.
You know what? I'm going to be really interested in learning what in the heck an SVP of growth is. Right? I just don't. I don't know what that is.
I'll make a note. I'll ask him that.
Yeah, please. And by the way, I have to say, I completely admire your actual promotional handiwork here. The look of this thing, this is super.
This is pretty good. I have to take
this is tour de force stuff, man.
My Photoshop skills are really getting there. Right.
This is a good one.
So that's next Wednesday, 2 p.m. Eastern, and then
he's our guy.
Colin Fleming will be back. What is this? It'll be visit number 3.
Yes. Once a year, basically.
Because he joined us the week that Salesforce Plus started a couple of years ago. Then he joined us last year to talk about how Salesforce Plus is going to play a significant part in Dreamforce. And so why shouldn't we have him back next week as we head into Dreamforce to talk about that stuff now? What's the difference between last year and this year? So, and plus, he has one of the best profile pictures to do this.
Wow.
It was so easy for me to do.
He really has that like actor thing going. You know what I mean? He really does. It's like he's got his headshots look literally professional.
So I'm wearing this not so much for the reflective clothing, but it's a vest of sorts, and it's August, and our guest is world renowned for his vest. So I thought I'd wear something that was still kind of cool, meaning temperature wise. I know it's not cool any other way, but to welcome our guests when we have them on. So that's the story behind that. All right. Last but not least, next week. Now I'm going to let you take this one. Oh, wait.
No.
We do that yet. We got to do the giveaway. We'll do that. I'll come back around to that. But this is what I was talking about.
Yeah. Okay, guys, listen to this one. And look, we know one thing that's happened since COVID began is we've now, regardless of everyone issuing back to work orders and companies like, saying like Zoom saying, don't use our platform, come back to the office. It's a hybrid world. And as business people, when you're home, especially if you're a spokesperson for the company, you got two choices when it comes to your virtual presence. One is broadcast the fact that your audio and video are terrible and distract completely from what you're trying to tell people, or remove the distraction. And secondly, or go up the ladder a bit, upscale, and make the audio and video part of the overall experience so that when people get off, not only did they learn from you, but they were impressed with the look, the feel, everything else, and thus left a good impression of you and your company. Well, this gentleman who you see here, Curtis Judd, who will be on our gear show, which is designed exactly to answer all those questions I just raised and make all those, give you all those ideas. Up from the rabbit hole, Curtis Judd is literally, and this is not metaphorical, he's literally the iconic guy on sound and lighting in the virtual world that we all live in right now. You go to YouTube, you watch these guys who are specialists in lighting and sound, and what you will see is, if you want more detail and you want to learn more, go watch Curtis Judd, right? These are the guys who are already making their own reputations. Curtis Judd is the best. I've known him for a couple of years now because I started following him. I don't worship people, so I don't worship him. But at the same time, this is a guy I 100% trust. And he's going to be here to both answer our and your questions and discuss lighting and sound on that gear show. I more than highly recommend that you are there. You know what? As the Godfather, I am demanding it.
Are you making them an offer they can't refuse?
That's exactly it.
Okay, wow. All I'll say about this is, look at that profile picture. I mean, this was so easy for me to Photoshop this.
And I got to tell you something else about him. He's the nicest human being ever. I swear to God, he is so sweet. He's a good person. So you're going to really appreciate this.
So that's next Friday. And that's significant because now I can go back to this. Because little out of order there, but here we got there.
What the hell?
So we are doing our first giveaway. Look, both Paul and I have bought ridiculous amounts of technology over the past several years, from cameras to mics to lights to video switchers to ridiculous audio interfaces
to lenses.
Yeah, the lenses. I mean, so, and we can't use it all. So, we've kind of progressed over the years. What you're seeing today was definitely not the way we were looking when we first got started.
Did you take a look at that thing I posted about when you and I were talking 4 years ago? Just the difference there tells you everything.
Yeah. So a lot of the stuff that we bought over the years, it's still great stuff, but we just so happen to buy more great stuff. So we can't use it all. So we figured, why don't we, give some away, do a giveaway. There are lots of folks that probably could use some of the things that we've had that maybe be a step up for them. So we're going to start with a giveaway, and I'll show you exactly what we're going to give away. Let's see if we can do this. Let me do this. Go back to this shot. So let's see. Yeah, that's it. The Lumix GH5. Now, this is one of the best cameras to get started in video, period. It's the one that I think both of us actually got started with.
Exactly.
And I keep, this thing is this is in great shape. I barely even took it out of this room, maybe a couple of times. And then this lens is going to go with it. It's a Lumix lens. It's a zoom 12 by 35. They call those a wide. What are they? Wide angle.
Wide angle. Yeah. For the most
I think it's ultra wide when you get down to 12 to 35, something like that. Anyway, so this stuff, and I've got pictures of it. I can bring the pictures back up. This stuff is in really good shape. This is what I would consider this to be pretty much mint condition. There's no dings. There's nothing. There's no blemishes. It just looks Matter of fact, I don't know if I want to give this away now. Look at this thing. So we're going to give it away. Now, this is how we're going to do it. And it starts like in 2 minutes or whatever. So if you want to qualify to win, or at least enter to win, you're going to have to participate in what I think is the country's famous, most important, most beloved game installment. Yeah. Stump the Godfather.
Jeopardy might take umbrage there.
They're old. This is new. So we're going to give you two chances today. So we'll do the Stump the Godfather today, and we'll do Stump the Godfather next week. If you participate in one or the other, or if you want both, but you don't get extras, if you put in an answer to a Stump the Godfather question either today or tomorrow during the show, so it shows up and we'll pop it on the screen, so that will get you entered. That's all it takes. Now, one big prerequisite, or one big
caveat
thing. Yeah, caveat. That's it. This is the first time we're doing this. We don't know exactly how it's going to work, but one thing we wanted to do is try to make it as easy and seamless as possible. So we're going to keep it to only shipping to the continental United States. So unfortunately, there's some folks who do watch us that are definitely outside the country, but you know, we got to work the kinks out of this. So to make it a little easier, we're going to keep it to being able to ship it to somewhere in the United States. Anything else I'm missing?
No, I was going to bring that up if you didn't, but that was it. And just one thing, look, to be honest, we don't know how what the cost would be internationally. We don't know what it would mean to deal with customs. We kind of don't want to right now. It's just too much. So that's the reason, really. You know, so we're sorry for this one. Doesn't mean it'll be eliminated in the future. We might have means to do it. We've discussed briefly, but we're not sure of it yet either. So
hey, and if you do so happen to win, if you know somebody in the States that we could send it to that then could ship it to you, hey, we're up for that. I mean,
that's fine. That would
absolutely
be fine.
And we'll be
however, be one thing, since a lot of you do know people in the States, they know me and you, Brent, right? We're not the people we're talking about when we say we can ship it to, meaning we're not going to ship it to you regardless. So
right.
You know someone in the States, it's not us who's right to ship it to you. Right.
Or we're going to be at a lot of conferences. If you're going to be at a conference that we're at, we'll be glad to just bring it with us and give it to you, place it directly into your hands.
We're happy to do that too.
Yeah, very easy to carry this stuff around. So,
and just one last thing, if we don't see a lot of entries, we will expand the ability to do entries, just so you know. So it might not just be the 2 Playaz episodes. It might be more, depending on the number of entries.
Yeah, it's got to be a certain number of entries. So.
Just so you know. So
no AI.
And the winner is ChatGPT-4.
You have to have a pulse in order.
The winner is a hallucinating ChatGPT-4.
Hell, the reason I bring that up is because, well, you know what time it is, right?
Yes, it is.
And now it's time for Stump the Godfather with the venerable Paul Greenberg, brought to you by Microsoft Dynamics 365 Copilot.
You can never get enough Benny Hill, I'll tell you that.
And you know what? He almost does say stomp. It's close. You were right. You were right.
But it is close. Stump the Godfather, brought to you by Microsoft Dynamics 365 Copilot. This week's question. Now, this is a little different, but I think it could be fun. Just set the guidelines.
Fun for who?
Well, it's always fun for me. You know? But okay, so let's do this one. Posting on social media has become a lucrative business, with top content creators earning millions. But there is a new trend emerging, and that trend is virtual influencers. These personalities have the same presence and power as regular influencers, but they only exist in the digital world. Yeesh. Lou DiMaggio. I don't know if I'm saying that right or not.
Yeah, it's close enough.
I almost said like Lou DiMaggio or something like that, but Lou DiMaggio,
Joe's brother,
a social media star in Brazil with over 6.4 million Instagram followers, was created by Brazilian retail brand Magalu. So this is a completely virtual AI bot that they created that has its own Instagram account, and it has 6.4 million Instagram followers. And that's the actual account, the Instagram account for the made up virtual influencer. I mean, I thought we already had enough problem with these people running around and influencers. Now we got virtual influencers that have 6.4 million followers, which is kind of crazy, but it's all to set. And look, they even got pictures like it's a person.
Yeah, but take a look at the pictures, man. That one in the middle looks literally like she's just a photographic bot.
Yeah, but that photographic bot has 6.4 million followers on Instagram.
Yeah, but you know what? She has no idea she does.
Well, I'll tell you what she does have an idea of, and that's why we get to the question. Based on estimates by online gambling platform Rant Casino, I have to admit, I never heard of Rant Casino before this. How much is Lou DiMaggio estimated to make this year? And the only hint I will give you is it's in the millions.
Is it US dollars we're talking about here?
It's US dollars in the millions.
I'm kind of wondering why the hell Rant gives a crap. I mean, ultimately, that's a gambling platform.
Right.
How's she make her money? She makes it by selling Magalu clothing or what? How's she making the money?
It's attention and it's for posting.
No, but
just like Kim K, we used to make a certain amount for posting.
So she's making it via the payouts on social media.
And particularly this is all about Instagram.
Right.
So she's got 6.4 million followers. She can charge a certain amount to post. How much are they estimating her to make this year? The virtual influencer, not a real person. And I already see Sahil coming in at 7.6 million.
Gee, not a bad estimate.
I would love that.
I'll guess a little higher just because he guessed that. I'll say 9.1 million.
9.1. Now we got two of our guests are in the green room, so if you want to take a shot, let us know. You can do a private chat and we'll tell everybody what you guessed. So if you want to take a shot, we'll let you take a shot. Let's see what is. I'm checking this account and I can see every post seems to be tagged to a product. Exactly. What is this? My second guess would be wait a minute. You get two, why are you getting two guesses now?
You don't. You only get one.
You got it. So you can take one or the other.
Well, no, he has to. It's 9. It's 7.6.
Okay.
He's already sourced something. So
7.6.
All right, he has to go with 7.6.
Bob, our guest, Bob Fernekees, 0. Has no.
She has no W2.
No 2. Okay. Interesting. Okay. No, sorry. The Godfather has already said that.
Yeah. You already went to the source, and that eliminates the second guess. Otherwise, right. I'll go Google it and tell you the answer.
All right. So you're saying 9.1. 9.1. So he said 7.6.
My downside, not my downside. My concern is I don't really know how exactly she's making.
I'll show you. It's very simple. Just like Kim Kardashian used to get paid per post. All right. But here is the number.
16.3.
16.3 million for a virtual influencer to post just on Instagram. And here's how they come up with that. Now, these numbers might be a little hard to see, but she's got 6.4. I'm guessing it's a she. See, I don't, whatever.
Well, it was a she. It was a picture of a young woman.
Yeah, that's true. Well, kind of hard to tell sometimes. 6.4 million Instagram followers. Estimated earnings per post, $16,960 per Instagram post. And they're expecting or estimating 960 posts per year.
That's 2.5 a day.
That's not really a lot of work.
No, given how long posts are.
But 6.4 million Instagram followers goes a pretty long way, I'm guessing, So now we have to contend with virtual influencers.
Yeah, God. I don't know. It is time for me to retire. I'm ready.
It's interesting out there.
As of right now, as of that, I'm ready to retire.
Well, think about that. That's just one channel. What if, Lou's, whatever the bot's name is, what if they could also accumulate like millions of followers on like a TikTok? How much do they get over there? How much do they possibly get on YouTube? I mean, this stuff could really add up.
I mean, I'll tell you what. I mean, think about it. It's making $16 million a year estimated, which is more than small businesses who work their butt off make in 5 years, 10 years sometimes.
And then the last word on this is really interesting. So Lou is the first in their rankings for how much can be made. And it says, I want to make sure I get this right. Originally focused on content such as unboxing videos and product reviews on behalf of the company, Lou now also shares her life and takes a stand on political matters such as advocating for LGBT rights. Lou is no longer just a sales tool, but a fully fledged influencer. That's what this thing says.
Well, somebody is aiming Lou toward those opinions.
Well, we all know there's a person behind this.
Well, there are people
behind this
who are, because here's the deal. If, let's say, okay, LGBTQ, if it was Koch brothers and Lou, they decided to try that experiment, or Koch brothers, they tried to try that experiment, Lou would not be advocating for LGBT.
Well, no, but apparently they probably figured out what their target audience. Let's face it, 6.4 million on Instagram. We know that's kind of the younger, probably.
Oh, it's Gen Z all the way too.
Yeah,
I know that brand is a young brand. I actually know of it.
Yeah,
Magalu.
Yeah,
I've seen their. I haven't seen their stuff. I've seen them, so to speak.
Interesting for me. This was interesting because it's just so weird. But
I know, but it's
we'll see.
Apparently part of what the world is going to be like.
Kind of a sign of the times, and so is
goes back to the old saying of P.T. Barnum, doesn't it?
A sucker born every minute.
Yeah.
Well, we definitely don't even need.
Apparently, there were at least 10,000 suckers born every minute.
We don't need a virtual influencer to know that's the case.
That's what I'm saying. It's the new way for a sucker to be a sucker.
All right. Well, that's once again Stump the Godfather this week, brought to you by Microsoft Dynamics 365 Copilot. That was a different one.
Yeah, it was definitely interesting.
It was interesting. I'm keeping my eye on these virtual influencers. I want to see a virtual influencer show up at a real event, though. That would be kind of cool.
I was thinking that about her making appearances. I literally was a few minutes ago.
How much would they get for a guest appearance?
Well, you remember what we saw at Verint with their bots and how realistic they were. They couldn't be that, but remember how utterly realistic the bots looked on that 3D thing? That was just 2D projection. Now with holograms and things, and active holograms are not a thing of the past now or the future. They're a thing of the present. Yeah. And I bet you just create a virtual hologram and let Lou go. Go and sing.
Well, we're going to let Lou go now because we got two of our favorite industry folks behind a magazine and a publication that we've long considered the best in the industry, CRM Magazine. And, annually they do their CRM Magazine Awards. And here to talk about that with us right now is Bob Fernekees, and Lynn Klie. Thank you guys for joining us today.
Hey guys, how you doing?
We're good.
I love your little. I love your little giveaway there. That was good.
Well, you just entered since you gave us an estimate.
Well, I entered, but you know, I thought you guys were going with a trick question.
You've been watching too much Jeopardy or something.
What is?
He's the new host.
Right.
He could be the new host.
Right.
So, guys, the awards. Okay, I know that. So first, look, because some of the audience, I'm sure, literally were also, aside from us too, were judges. Some of them are participant companies. Some of them are people interested in what you put out every year in these awards. So talk about the awards, and then talk about the changes to the awards that you've made over time too, because all of that's really important.
Sure. Well, this is the 22nd, I believe it is, the 22nd year that we're actually doing these. It's an annual tradition. For quite a while, we had split them up, and we had done a separate contact center one that we called the Service Leader Awards.
Right.
And then we did another one in the spring. Well, the service leaders we did in September, and we did a marketing and sales leaders in March. We decided a couple of years ago to put them all together and do them in one issue and call them the Industry Leader Awards rather than separating them out. And we revised a lot of the categories, came up with some new ones as things either faded in or faded out as far as technologies are concerned. Like we recently, I think it was just last year, we added e-commerce platforms, given the amount of traction that's going into e-commerce and how everyone's trying to custom data tie-ins and all that kind of stuff. So we added that one this year. So we got a total of 11 categories that we got, starting with Enterprise, CRM Suite. Then we do one for the small business and mid-market sector, contact center infrastructure, which is the pipes, the IVRs, the routing systems, the dialers, all of that kind of stuff. Contact center interaction analytics, which used to be speech technology primarily that would be used to analyze what was said during the phone calls. But as technologies and channels are added in, that gets into chats and email and fax and phone and all kinds of other things. So we call it interaction analytics now. Then we have marketing automation, Salesforce automation, outsourcing, employee management or work engagement management, I guess they call it now, business intelligence solutions, customer data platforms, and as I said, e-commerce platforms. So there's a total of 11 categories. And what we did a couple of years ago, we used to have, it was a very convoluted system that required a lot of math and numbers and calculations and adding and subtracting and percentages and that kind of stuff. And it got a little unwieldy as staff shrunk and the pool of analysts shrunk. It was a little harder to maintain. So basically what we do, we have a pool of analysts that's growing every year, and we basically ask them for 2 simple questions related to each of the categories. And the 2 questions basically are, if a client came to you and asked you for your recommendations on a specific category, which companies would you put to your short list and why? So then we basically take all of those recommendations, and the 5 companies that draw the most listings from the analysts and consultants basically are our top 5 companies in those particular categories. We figure it makes it a lot simpler for the analysts. They don't have to go and do all of these numbers, and we'll give this one a 3.6 and a 4.1 and a 2.7, and it's just, what are your 5 recommendations? What would you suggest if a company is looking to implement a contact center infrastructure package? which companies would you suggest they put on the short list to look at?
Nice.
And as I said, we've got a growing pool of analysts. So this year, I think we had 15, which is a lot higher than we've had in the past. We're usually somewhere in that like 10 to 12 range. This year we actually had 15. And our two hosts were part of that pool. So I don't know if you guys want to throw in anything as far as what your recommendations, what you used as a basis for your recommendations or anything like that.
I mean, I would say one general thing about all of this. Whoa, where's that coming from?
Bit of an echo going on there. So.
I know. Hold on a minute. How about now? Gone? Yeah, I know where it came from. So one thing I liked about this especially was the fact that it was basically our recommendations with some detail. And I mean, because I saw the list of other analysts and I know pretty much all of them, we all operate on kind of a similar mode, which was, we've been doing this for years. We've dealt with a lot of these companies. Some of them are around for years. Some of them are contemporary and relatively new, but at the same time, really have come to the fore in the last, I could be 2-3 years, 1 year, whatever. But it gave us a chance to kind of qualitatively exercise what we thought as opposed to quantitatively exercise what we guessed at. So to me, it was a really good method. And it also, I sunsetted the watch list. I made it 19 years before I gave up. So I'm used to that. I'm used to a lot of detail. And I actually thought this year, especially, although, in the past years, it was still fun to do. This year, especially, you're going to get, I'll call it a much more, you'll get the companies that are chosen, whoever they are companies that really, the best way to put it is they really deserve it because of all the factors that went into each of the analysts thinking on those companies, which they in part are expressing in the why part of what you're doing. So I think they become they were always really well regarded and important awards. I think they become even more important now.
No, I enjoyed the changes. I thought they were well done. I think maybe there'll be some folks, since you have a growing number of analysts, you might actually see some different perspectives and some different takes on companies and maybe some additional companies that some of us might not have come in contact with, but 2 or 3 years from now, maybe everybody's going to know about. So I like that idea. And I think I'm also going to like the way that you present the list too. So why don't you talk a little bit about when the list is coming out and maybe how it's going to be announced?
All right. Well, thanks to you guys. You made a great suggestion. We're actually going to be announcing it live on CRM Playaz on August 31st at 3:00. Our website will go live. We've changed things a little bit. Usually the current issue goes live on the first of the month. We'll just do it 12 hours early and have it go live during your webcast. So we're going to be announcing things then, and we're going to do a marketing push. So if you're signed up for CRM Magazine, you'll get an email from us pointing you to the webcast. Want to thank you guys. And just to talk a little bit about the awards, is that it's purely editorially driven and always has been. And, some awards you have to pay a fee to enter. This is not like that. You cannot enter it. Len has done a great job of creating spaces. So not only the giant leaders win awards every year, although they do for, market share reasons and other reasons. But there's plenty of places for, new people to pop in and Len to use kind of his expertise with input from the analysts like you guys, to come up with, not only the meat of here's where the market is this year, but also, hey, take a look at these new guys because they've got something to offer. And it's a lot of times the new guys will, take things in a new direction and, try and find that bit of freedom that makes sense and take us all there. So we're really looking forward to it. We really thank you guys for the suggestion. Brent, are you ever going to reveal why you're wearing a high visibility today?
I will as soon as, and our next guest is in the green room, and he did not fail me.
I don't want to step on that. I did not know that. Okay, I did not know that. Okay, all right.
So we'll get to that once we're done here. So that's August 31st. That's 2 weeks from today, 3:00 Eastern, the usual Playaz time. The show is going to be dedicated to the CRM Magazine Awards, and
it'll run as long as it needs to run.
Yeah, like any other award show.
If it happens to run an hour and a half, it runs an hour and a half. We don't care. It's an important show, and people really need. Look, the awards mean something, and it takes. And I'm speaking from my experience, just trying to be a judge for my own stuff, right? But also being a judge for you this year, you're dealing with. In this case, you're dealing with 15 judges who had to think about it and were not given a list, right? So you're dealing with the judges coming through their own thinking and their own efforts and their own history and their own experience with your company, something that made you, whoever you are, top of mind. And that's not easy with analysts because we're a really testy lot of people. That alone means if you won, you deserved it.
Right. And like Bob was saying, it's not a pay-per-play thing. Right. So it's nobody's paying for these awards, nobody's paying to enter, nobody's getting an award because they took out an ad or they didn't take out an ad. It's strictly you guys decide who gets the winners, and we just take the numbers, punch them together, and come up with a list of the top 5 based on that. But in addition to the 11 categories, we also have something we call them conversation starters. And these are 5, 6, 7 companies, usually a handful of companies that have really shaken things up in the past year or so and kind of come up with some new stuff that people maybe weren't talking about, or really taken hold of a particular market that wasn't really as prominent as some of the other technology solutions might be, and grabbed it and shaken up a particular market, or really captured a specific niche that nobody really had thought of before. So we have 5 of those as well that we're unveiling.
Cool.
Hopefully I will see the winners before the show, though. I haven't seen the winners. So.
Well, we're putting the list together. The magazine, we're actually doing a print version of the magazine as well. That's coming out. We're due to submit everything and have it all done off the way to the printer by tomorrow. So we're still in the process of making the last minute touches on the page proofs and looking at copy and flowing stuff in and out of the art department and that, but should be along. So hopefully we'll have everything in place. We should have everything in place by the 31st for sure.
Well, we better let you guys get back to it then, because we don't want it to be late at all.
Sorry, you kept us on the show too long. We're not ready.
But no, this is great.
Ready on the 31st.
This is so. I know I can speak for Paul. We're definitely looking forward to doing that,
and we'll of course be promoting it everywhere too.
Absolutely, and maybe we'll figure out some fun ways to bring some of the voice of the winning companies in somehow. Maybe we can.
Yeah, if you guys are up for that, we've done that with we did a watch list award show. We would bring the people on live to accept the award sometimes. So it's not easy to do that, but it's doable.
That one might be a little tough, because there could be anywhere from, if we got 11 categories and 5 winners in each, we're talking 50. Theoretically, you could have somewhere in the neighborhood of 50 companies. But
you don't have anything to do, for 5 hours on Thursday.
That's when you need a virtual influencer.
That's when you need a virtual.
Yeah,
We'll hire
Lou.
Lou. We'll hire Lou for this.
Give
We'll pay her
Lou a
$1
little
million.
extra money. 16 million's not enough.
Yeah,
We'll give her
there
$1
you go.
million to do this for us.
Hey, Bob and Lynn, thanks again for joining us, and we're really looking forward to doing this.
Yeah.
Thanks
See you in
again.
2
We're
weeks.
looking
All
forward
right,
to
see you in a
seeing you
couple
in
of
2
weeks.
weeks.
All right,
2
guys.
weeks.
See ya.
Bye, guys.
All right. All right, that was fun. That's cool.
Yeah, I'm really excited.
Oh, let me get Dan's shout out for Lenny. Way to go, Lenny. There is Dan Miller in there.
Hey, Dan. You're
Okay,
late on the entry, so you can't win the camera. Ha ha.
All right, so let me turn it over to you to do the intro, and I'm so glad because he did not fail me.
All right,
see him
this
already.
one. Okay, I've known this guy for, I don't know, 15, 18 years, maybe longer. He was, when I met him, it was the world of, well, we became really friendly. We met before this, but it was when the world of Enterprise 2.0 was being talked about, and you had employee engagement, and you had social CRM, and you had all these things. And the way it worked was he and I would jointly speak on stages. He came from the Enterprise 2.0 side. I came from the social CRM side, and we talk about convergence. And we would do that conference after conference. Then we became great friends. He came to my house. We would, drink together and talk food. And this guy is a master chef. He really is. And he is a foodie and a half. He also, though, made a decision, even though he at the time was more of an analyst more of an analyst influencer than he was anything else, a consultant, that world, to go into the world of enterprise tech as a senior executive. And he went to SAP and he created the best collaboration product I have ever seen. And to this day, SAP, to be honest, stupidly sunset it. It was called SAP Jam. He then went out and became CEO of a company, Kahuna, and then he went back to SAP and recently left, but he's now the former CMO and what was the rest of it? The CMO and solutions officer for CX at SAP. His name is Sameer Patel, and all I want to do right now when he comes on is give him a hug. So let's bring him on.
There he is. And there he is. He's got it on.
And here's the hug.
Nice to see you, buddy. So, Brent, now I get the jacket thing. Dude. Now I get the rest thing. Hey, would you look in your closet? You're like, there's nothing. You ran outside. You saw someone do construction. You're like, dude, can I?
No, you know what it is? Minutes? I didn't want anything heavy. So I was like, okay, I'll just put this on.
Why do you own that? That's more important.
I got this from a trip to, I got invited to do a walkthrough at an Amazon, at an Amazon warehouse. And you had to wear this in there. So.
Holy cow.
Hey, before we get started, that whole CRM, the awards thing is so fantastic. And I've known Len and I've read his stuff for a really long time. I think it's I was just thinking while he was, they were talking about sort of what they're doing and how they're doing it. And I'll tell you, I don't think there's been a better time for a independent voice to come back and take the stage with just all of the changes that are coming, right? I think if you go from like on-premise to cloud, big change. I think this will be the next one that's about that size, right? There's never been any room for really a lot of new players to come out and become one of the top three. Like, it's been really difficult, right? A lot of the good technology got bought out and became features. But I think that we're at a point right now where there's, and everybody, this is famous last words, right? But, there is room right now for a disruptive mode. And like, if you had a clean slate with, to use the overused word, generative AI, et cetera, like there's a time right now to help people just understand what could it look like if I came at CRM with a clean slate, right?
What should it look like? What would you like to see?
How much time do you have? How much time do you have? Well, I mean, listen, I think if it, and by the way, I think a lot of the established companies are at it as well, right? They have the install base, they have trust built into the customers, as you guys know. trust is such a big issue right now with AI that, there are vendors that they've done business with for the last 10, 20 years. And these vendors have come up with something really, really compelling. They've not screwed them over before, right? They know that they'll handhold them through this. So there's a play for that too. But I don't know, Brent, to your question, I mean, I think this is the first time where you could actually have a search box type interface to pretty much anything that you need and do that takes a lot of time and productivity, right? So you've got things that require record keeping, you'll enter records. But the amount of time that's wasted multitasking between systems, the amount of time that we've set to deploy middleware technologies to connect stuff, the ability for you to go into that database, that data source, via just, I have a question, give me the answer. What's the billing date? Where, why, what? How does it connect to this particular customer? It's just it's a completely different paradigm in terms of how we think about the applications. Now, there is complex stuff that's going to happen at the back, right? Like every simple interface, take Google, for example, it's not simple. It's just that the complexity is hidden, right? It's highly complex to do what Google does. They just make it simple via a search box for you, right? So I think that, we've talked so much about sort of connecting demand chains to supply chains, on and on and on. The point is that we've done it the difficult way because there was no other way to do it, which is integrate systems, spend billions of dollars every year building these things, maintaining these things. You start to abstract that and go straight to the data layer, right? I think the second thing is it's actually a lot easier and cheaper to do it when you put guardrails around the stuff, right? So, if I'm in an enterprise setting and my guardrails are customer data across the demand chain, supply chain, times 3,000 customers that I have, that's a manageable data set compared to what we do with ChatGPT today, where it could be any question I can ask anywhere, and I hope the system has found the answer for me, right? The ability to have biases removed, the ability to have more accurate answers because you have control of the data set allows you to be a lot more sophisticated with this in the enterprise setting, right? So surprise, Paul, you said enterprise 2.0. Look, I think this is the value of this stuff is actually going to be much bigger on the enterprise side than the B2B side.
So here's the thought that keeps occurring to me. So we now have been pretty much drummed into our head that generative AI hallucinations are built into the system, as opposed to being an error. But here's the thing, to kind of the general point you were making, you're dealing with systems that really can't spare inaccuracy, right? Or they can't, I mean, generative AI could literally create a whole alternate reality that has nothing to do with actually getting the result you actually must get. And it could literally destroy a system because of a hallucination that's built into it. So
agreed.
How do you even start thinking about dealing with that?
Well, I mean, listen, let's take different use case scenarios here, right? So, if I'm an employee sitting inside an organization, say I'm in customer support, right? And today, without massive amounts of integration, the data that I have is limited to the edges of the organization, right? Arguably CRM systems, etc. If it is in my interest as a company to make sure that frontline customer support rep or contact center rep has to be more effective, the data set that I'm looking at really sits within the walls of my organization, maybe a little bit outside that I buy third-party data, but I'm controlling and designing what the language models are actually out to drive output, right? So you're not sitting in some, political environment where you're trying to sort of influence people to think a certain way. This is a lot more data-driven. And if it's opinion-driven, it's based on a manageable, owned data set that sits within a ring fence, right? So today, when you go and search something on ChatGPT, you're just assuming that the answer is unbiased, is not hallucinating, et cetera, et cetera. But if you're sitting inside an enterprise setting, these are, the structured and unstructured data is built around the reality of how you've run your business so far, right? Now, if you've got some bad intentions and you want to, influence a customer to think a certain way about your products and solutions, you can obviously do that. But I'm talking about, confined data sets allowing you to do a lot more pointed, rigorous, use case driven outcomes, because in this case you're trying to make that contact center rep be far more effective, right? So I think you have to separate the public use of ChatGPT and AI and what it might look like in an enterprise. I was at squash courts yesterday, and this one guy I've been playing with for a very long time, super smart guy, he told me something which I thought was fascinating, right? And I'm taking a public example here, right? Like he said, like, what if you imagine your ancestry, right? You've got children, and down, like it probably doesn't work, if people have passed away, but from here on down, like, is there a way to unleash this technology to create something where I put my thoughts, my thinking, how I think about certain topics, that's embedded into this large language model. So does my son, my wife, my kids, right? And is there a way where one day when I'm gone, my grandkids can actually talk to me because the system has learned how I think. And it's like, ask grandpa this question, right? And if I spend the next 20, 30, 40 years that I have, right, training the system, how Sameer thinks lives on forever. Wild, right? Wild.
All right. I
don't know where it goes, right?
Yeah. So, but
that's a trained.
But is that really you living on? That's somebody. One of my buddies. I'm a huge Prince fan. So somebody.
I know that. I've known that for years.
Somebody came up and said, "Hey, there's some kind of a site that says that they can actually create Prince music because they've loaded all this stuff in." And I'm like, dude, I don't care what that site says.
Right.
I know it's not Prince.
It's not Prince. I think that's different, right? Like my son showed me an AI generated concert of Freddie Mercury singing in a joint concert with Adele, right? Never happened. Wow. And I was not impressed, frankly. and I'm like what Prince is to you, Freddie Mercury is to me, right? So I am not willing to allow for slight variations, right? It's not the real thing. It's not the real thing, right? But I think that's different. That's like using imaging and voice technology to superimpose it in a concert setting, right? What I'm talking about is different, right? It's how does Sameer think? Like my son knows how I think. He knows how I will react to certain questions. He knows which direction I'll go in when he wants advice on something. What if that could be documented, right? Early days, I'm not the AI programmer behind all of this, but like I think, but the single point I'm just making, whether these are pie in the sky ideas or not, is I'm more excited about ring-fenced learning models where the data set is you can put your arms around the data, you have some level of confidence because it's enterprise data, and the wonderful things you can do to drive massive amounts of productivity across the demand and supply chain, right? And ironically, given I'm talking to the two of you, right, and what I've been doing for the last 7-8 years, the first place, the lowest hanging fruit is actually going to be the world of customer operations within which it's going to be contact centers, right, and customer touch points. So from where you guys sit, where I've been sitting, and might well sit going forward, right? Like it's right here, right? So which is going back to the CRM awards and this idea of starting to have a independent third party starting to pay attention to this, right? Hopefully, I do think that some really, really, really strong ideas are going to come out in the next couple of years. It's been a while, right? We're done with cloudifying now. Now it's getting smarter and intelligent. Yeah.
So in that world, if you're looking at our universe, basically, what is what's the most obvious use case? The one that really rises to the front that when people look at a use case for this, they say, "Oh, of course, that makes complete sense." What is that?
So let's take customer operations. Within customer operations, let's stick with contact center. There's a bunch, right? Like there are examples in marketing and content and all of that, but let's stick with just contact center, right? Like on the customer side, we're still sitting in a very, very broken, fragmented, horrible experience world as of now, right? As we're experimenting with things like IVR and voice. Does a human being actually give me a better answer than the system can? I don't know, right? So to the degree that you can start to fully automate, right, data, right? And maybe it's partial to fully, but you're on a gradual course, just starting to automate the answers to 80, 70, 80% of the questions that you might have. I don't think it is more effective for someone to sit on a phone waiting on a tree to sort of get to somebody, right? Like to the degree that you can use chat systems or voice systems to get you answers faster, because the data resides across the demand and supply chain. I think it is one of the areas where you're going to start to see a ton of volume. There are companies already in different parts of the world that have gone 100% digital on their customer support, right? So you will start to see, and of course, is this going to apply to like white glove? Paul is super high on United and like, no, maybe not. It knows its fault. Yeah, there you go, right? But that's not 80% of the cost that they incur today, right? That's happening underneath the layers where Paul sits, right? So I think that, I think you're going to start to see massive, it's going to be productivity and cost driven in the beginning, right? Like these are going to be big transformative initiatives, but what are they driven around? They're really driven around, efficiency for the customer, drive SAT scores at a lower cost, right? Which has always been the case for contact centers, right? I just don't think we've been at a point where you could have really, really put technology as the front runner and people be the fallback, right? We're not really there at scale, right? And you're seeing some of the biggest players in the market taking this super seriously right now. Right?
There's I don't know what to call it, but there's sort of it's not really generative AI, it's AI, but a couple of years ago, before OpenAI and ChatGPT became the items du jour, Microsoft introduced, for example, Microsoft Viva Sales, and Viva Sales has AI built in that actually does the data. It basically takes care of the most mundane salesperson tasks, which are data entry. It does it for you, and it does I've seen it in production as well as demo, and it does a really good job.
Yeah.
And then Oracle has launched a version of that too. Although I'd say if I had to pick one, I'd still give it to Microsoft's. But both of them are good. And they've launched it with Fusion Marketing, Fusion Sales, and mostly on where data entry is automated and done. Now, and a lot of that, the next level became when generative AI became a thing. Was okay. Not only can we enter the data, but we now can write your emails, right? And basically it went from kind of efficient to effective. Right now, are the emails great? I don't know that. I haven't seen enough of them to tell me, oh my God, what an amazing email that is. The impact is phenomenal. It's
but that's coming.
1,000% click rate.
Yeah, but that's coming, right? Like, SEO optimization is going to get impacted by this. When you start to link, this notion of getting full circle productivity, right? Like you said, the data got entered, the email got generated. But what's the point of the email? It wasn't generate the email. The point of the email is to get somebody to click and open and say, I want to talk to you, right? So I think we're just going to keep pushing down those processes. And this is workflow management, actually, right? Ironically, right? You look at companies like, ServiceNow who've been doing it in a certain way, and they unlocked a multi-billion-dollar company doing it. This is rethinking workflows, in my opinion. Right. And at different points in the workflow, you employ AI, and at certain points you employ generative AI, right? The contact center example I gave you is going to move from AI to generative AI, right? Like generate the response. Based on the response, generate another response. The example you gave, generate the email, that's a workflow concept. And I think, where I'd be disappointed and sad in this whole transformation is if the larger vendors who have been doing the older versions of this use it as incremental, right? But versus saying for certain processes, if I had to throw the process out and just lay out the process map and say, where does AI generative people process matter? You can come up with something fantastically compelling, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's always a matter of effective use. It's not a matter of like, oh my God, this is new, throw out the old.
No.
AI was actually not bad, prior to the generative AI. It was pretty good. Right. So
yeah, no, I agree 100%. I mean, I think, and that's the 2 to 3 year outlook. But if you think about the 10-year outlook, right?
Yeah.
Like I go back and I look at, I have friends whose kids are, sophomores, juniors in college, right? Have been going down a certain path, and they're like, holy crap, like my whole career plan just got blown up.
Yeah.
And then you have like my son who goes to college next year. I think he dodged a bullet there, right? Because by the time he gets there and it's time for him to pick a major, the colleges would have also smartened up about, what is the new way to think? Because if the machine's going to do 60% of what we've been teaching people to do, then how do we focus on the 40% and make them really good at the 40? Because the machine's going to take care of the 60, right? Right. I worry a lot about is just like, for all these kids going into college, like if you're saying that the machine does the mundane stuff, what does your entry level job look like then? Because that's when you do some of the mundane stuff to learn your way up, right? Because you've got to be good at it. But if the machine's doing it, are you starting what a job would have looked like in year 3? I don't know, right? Like that's interesting for me to see how the academic institutions are rewiring for this stuff.
Yeah, there's also the cultural impact is different. I mean, for example, one of the reasons I realized that generative AI and ChatGPT was so like crazy popular was because it's actually a right-brained version of AI in a lot of ways. It's not a left-brained version. Most AI has been left-brained, right? Sure. To your point, it's effectiveness in workflows of some kind, but people. Just because people do this, they gave it personality it doesn't really have, but they gave it personality, and it's a right-brained AI, and that is where people.
It's a really good way of putting it. That's a really good way of putting it. Yeah, you're right. I mean, listen, that the answer is only as creative as your question was.
Right.
Right. I mean, if you ask a basic question, you're going to get a basic answer, but you could throw some serious curveballs at that thing, and it'll debunk it, it'll dedupe it, right? And you'll get a really, really good answer, right? So I think
it'll say, why do you hate me?
Yeah, and then you can say, tell me more, right?
Well, the odd thing is, because human beings are not perfect and they're imperfect, the hallucinations are actually what make it as much right-brained as anything else.
Oh,
because it's basically just it's an imperfection in an existence. It's not a being; it's an existence. Meaning, in this case, it's an artificial existence, but it is one. And so, I've been thinking about that a lot lately to sort of sort out the cultural side of this thing, and recognize popularity is because you can people just naturally are applying these right brain characteristics to it, even though technically it's not. I mean, when I say technically, I don't mean literally technically. Generally, technologically, it's not different than other AI. It's a version of AI, right? It's not.
Yes.
It's not completely 100% done differently. Large language models existed before ChatGPT did.
Yeah.
Right. So
that's a generation. It's also a generational thing, right? In the sense that
too. Yeah.
It's like I have to remind myself to put a prompt in that has to sound just like I would ask you a question.
Right.
Right. And we're not used to writing into a computer screen that way. Right. But my kids are like, whatever, right? That's how I can speak to anybody. So anyway, like I think it's early days, right? It's early days, but I do think that, I think there's too much pendulum swinging in the conversation. It's awesome. It'll fix everything. It sucks. It's hyped, right? It's like with everything else, right? Like it's just, it's somewhere in the middle, and I think it'll just get better and better.
All right. Well, listen, one last thing before we have to go.
Yo.
Talk about your kids and squash.
So you're giving me a minute for humble brags? Is that what you did?
More than a minute.
No, they're good. They're good. They're both competitive squash players. They're, my son was number 1 in the US. My daughter was number 3 last year. They're all credit to them. I mean, you can drive them there and you can pay for stuff, but you can't force them to wake up in the morning and train and put in 6 hours a day and break their bodies. And that's you can't negotiate that when they play at those levels. So no, they're great. They're great. Son goes to college. I'm not announcing it yet, but he's been recruited and accepted.
You want to break news now? Go ahead.
No. I'm gonna have him come on the show, Paul.
That's fine. He's awesome. That kid is awesome. I've met him. He's just awesome. He and I get along really well.
Yeah, these guys talk like they've never met, and these guys just spent at least 3 hours just talking.
Yeah, we literally sat in the basement and ignored Sameer, and he and I talked for 3 hours.
Yeah. And we had a great burger.
Yeah.
Paul took us to a great burger. What's that place, Paul? Yeah, that burger joint next to your house.
Yeah,
that was good.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah. Hey, this has been great.
Boys.
No, this has been really great.
It was
and I really appreciate you coming suited up.
As always, man. I don't know how to do it any other way.
You literally wear a vest year round, huh?
I wear a vest year round.
I love that, man. That is it.
So I get to see you guys soon, hopefully, at some point. Hopefully.
We're heading out that way for Dreamforce. That would be about the time.
That would be it. Well, I'll be here.
Cool. The only thing we have to figure out, and since Salesforce is the host, it's what do they have us doing? And then once we know that, and our schedules aren't identical; they're a little different. But once we know that, then we know what other time we have. That's kind of how it works.
You and I have had this conversation.
As soon as we know, we can.
Right, and we've had this conversation about 7 times, and
eventually
we find that one night.
Nothing's changed yet.
I would love to revive our dinners, man.
Let's do it. Done. So you guys tell me how it's playing out, and I'll drive it to the city, and we'll go get dinner.
Okay.
Awesome.
All right. Well, I will let you know soon. As soon as we.
Okay, guys. Sounds great. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, sir.
Bye, guys.
It's always good catching up.
It is, and he's such a bright guy.
And I love the vest. I love the vest.
I know you do. It's like when you said that's why you were wearing it, I thought that was hysterical.
Hey, I got to represent. I mean,
well,
I didn't want to be hot though.
No, God no. The vest he's wearing in Atlanta would basically
that wouldn't work right now.
No, that is more for when it gets down to winter levels in New York.
Hey,
or
and I've got
Antarctica.
I've got a couple of Rams vests ready to go for next year or wintertime, so I'm good.
All right.
But I'm really excited about the CRM Magazine Awards, and it's gonna be announced right on the Playaz. Gotta that.
Start getting them out everywhere.
Since I worked with the accounting firm of PricewaterhouseCoopers, they should just let me, once they've got it all situated, they should trust it and trust the actual awards to me to handle.
Give you the envelope.
Yeah, since I've got a little experience,
That would be so awesome. Formerly PricewaterhouseCoopers.
Like long time ago, formerly.
Yeah. You know what? I still remember them when they were, I am not joking, Price Waterhouse and Coopers and Lybrand.
Coopers and Lybrand. Well, I see, this is the thing. This is how long ago this was. I was actually hired by Coopers and Lybrand right as they were being merged.
So you actually got into the discussion where you would meet other people and you would go, Old Co.
Yes.
Yes. I used to do that. It was hysterical. Old Co.
Old Co. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which one are you? Old Co.
Right.
I'm Old Co. Coopers.
Old Co. PW.
And I really wasn't Old Co. Cooper. Well, because I literally came on board as they were merged. So it's like, okay, I was hired.
You really weren't Old Co. You were kind of new Co. from the beginning.
I was just.
I dealt with them independently, and I partnered with them in different things. I partnered with PW on PeopleSoft, and I partnered with Coopers and Lybrand on Lotus Notes. They were very, and I'm amazed it worked, that merger, because they were so different as companies.
Yeah.
And if I had a choice, I liked Coopers and Lybrand better if I had to pick one.
No, I didn't have to pick one. So.
Yeah, I didn't either. So I didn't.
Anyway.
All right.
Oh yeah. So 2 weeks, that'll be fun. And then of course next week we got all sorts of stuff going on.
And then 2 weeks from now, that same week, we've got EWPK with Isa Watson, who you will be seeing more about shortly. And we've got Talking Headless. I'm next episode of the revamped, rebooted show. And I am now on LinkedIn. If you have a company you want me to cover, put it down now. The next 2 or 3 days, I should say, probably running into the beginning of next week. I am taking requests on which company you want me to spend 25 minutes saying what's good, what's bad, and what they need to do.
Cool. And by the way, I can already tell Issa Watson has a whole bunch of great pictures to choose from for her promo. So,
okay, so
just did a look up,
and you will be happy.
She is definitely photo ready. Let's put it.
Yes.
Unlike some folks, but we won't say who.
Yes. Who need to do some work.
All right. Well, in the meantime, and in between time. Ooh.
Wow, ain't we got fun?
No, not really.
Nah.
But I am Brent Leary.
And I am Paul Greenberg.
And we are the CRM Playaz, and we will see you next
week.
Yeah,
later.
Minnie.